Welcome to the Executive Hub Show, the show that helps you grow your business with simple tips and strategies from successful entrepreneurs. Today, my guest is Justin Currie. Let me add him on to the studio. Welcome, Justin.
Hey, thanks a lot, Mustafa. I'm happy to be here.
Good to see you. And we're talking about how to attract premium clients and stop competing on price. It is a big deal. It's a huge issue. I believe a lot of business owners deal with that competition and competing on price. And so tune in and share the links of the show to anyone that could benefit from, stopping competition and stop competing on price. Let me do the introduction for Justin, and we're going to dive into this interesting conversation. Justin Currie is the founder of Thema Home Care and Masters of Home Care, two industry leading companies in the home care space. After scaling Thema Care into a multi-million-dollar agency and landing on both the Inc. 5000 and Inc. regional list of fastest growing companies, he created Masters of Home Care to help agency owners do the same. Through proven systems, private pay strategies, and tactical mentorship, he helps owners scale, increase profitability, and exit daily operations. Justin, how's your day so far?
Things are going good. Excited to be here.
Love it. Whereabouts are you?
So I am just outside of Philadelphia. I'm in Downingtown, Pennsylvania.
Nice. And you happen to be from my neck of the wood.
I am. So Saskatchewan originally. And then, I lived in Calgary where you're at for about 10 years right before I moved down here. So big change from the mountains to the sea level.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So let's dive into it, Justin. What's your story?
So my story is, I grew up very small town in northern Saskatchewan. There was only about 500 people there, so not a real entrepreneurial community. So I'm not sure where I caught that bug, but I pulled pipe wrenches in the cold for about 8 years before I moved out to Calgary. So I moved out there, took some inspection courses in the oil and gas, so I didn't have to pull pipe wrenches in the cold anymore. Was ultimately really successful in that. I mean, it was we started a company, an inspection company in Calgary. We ran that for about 10 years, my partner and I, and that's kind of where I had got my, he was my business mentor, right? Like he taught me pretty much everything I knew. And then I met my fiance, and she lived, where I live now, just outside of Philadelphia. I met her in Cancun, of all places, and then ultimately made the move down to the U.S. And I've been here a little over 7 years now, so it's home now.
Fantastic. What are some of the maybe main differences between living in Calgary or Canada down compared to where you are now?
Yeah, I would say just the outdoors, right? I used to go outdoors all the time in the mountains and everything, and it's a little tougher here for sure. We get outside, but not like we did back in Calgary for sure.
Absolutely. So, what inspired you to start your company in the home care business after you moved down?
Yeah, so home care, there was a few different variables to that. The catalyst to that was also the government had changed over in Canada. They weren't too friendly with the oil and gas anymore. So, it was kind of an uphill battle all along. And during that time, I met my fiance. So I started looking at different things I can do, in the US. And so what I did was home care really caught my eye. And I was also involved with my grandmother and finding care for her. And that's actually who the company is named after, is both my grandmothers. But I was very involved in that. I understood what a lot of the challenges were. And like I said, we were in a small town in northern Saskatchewan, really hard to get caregivers out there, right? So inherently there's a lot of challenges, especially when you're in a remote place like that, to find somebody good to come out and care for your parent. And the more I researched the industry, the more I realized what a huge need there was, right? There's tons of competitors, tons of demand, but there's so many people that, they have a lot of healthcare experience and their heart's in the right place. They don't have the business experience, right? And that's what I thought that I could really bring to the table with home care. So it was really a combination of my love of business and being able to help people. So it was a win-win for me, and it was a big growth industry.
Very interesting. So, who do you serve now, and what do you do for them?
So I obviously have my home care agency, so we serve seniors in that. And what I've really moved towards recently is masters of home care here, and that's where I'm basically consulting and mentoring other home care agency owners, and we're essentially giving them like the tactics and the strategies that I'm currently using, in my home care agency to basically help them kind of speed up the process, right? I'm giving them everything that I wish I knew, when I first started my agency. So they're not like stale tactics. There's a lot of consultants in the game that, they've been out of the business for 15 years, so some of the information's kind of stale. Ours is like real time. We're getting it to you right now. And if it's not working in my agency, I'm not, gonna put it in my program.
Fantastic. So, for people that are not too familiar with the term home care,
Mhm.
what exactly is included in there, and what do you do for your customers there?
Yeah, so good question. So home care is we're on the non-medical side, and that was a strategic approach. There's medical and there's non-medical. We're on the non-medical side, and the reasons we did that is because I wanted to basically simplify my business, right? I wanted to stay away from the complexity to government overregulation. I wanted to be allowed to run my business the way I wanted to run it. And so once you get to the medical side, you're essentially getting into the Medicares, Medicaid. You're dealing with a lot of government compliance, and they really tie your hands. I mean, they tell you what you can make. They tell you, how many. They basically decide, how many clients are coming your way. So there's a lot of overregulation there, and essentially, basically just kind of building the company is strategically we stayed non-medical, and what we're doing is serving seniors. We do serve some with disabilities, but the lion's share, 99%, is seniors that want to age in place at home. But we're also coming in and assisting them inside facilities, inside communities. And we're basically training and hiring caregivers, CNAs, LPNs, and we're sending them out to people's home to make sure that those seniors can age comfortably at home.
So, I would imagine that people are inside facilities, they're taken care of. What are the problems that you help with inside facilities? Like, I mean, obviously at home, they probably don't have enough help at home and they're alone and the rest of it. But I was thinking like, well, inside a facility, there's probably people that would do what you do is, so I think I'm wrong about that.
So you're not wrong. We're more of a supplement to what facilities and communities are doing, and there's a very big common misconception. We actually use this to our advantage when we're talking marketing strategy. But there's a big common misconception that when you go into an assisted living facility, it would make sense that you're going to be cared for, right? And what the misconception is that there's only one caregiver to 8 to 10 residents, right? So you're getting very little care. You might get a half an hour in a day or 1 hour a day. So if you're
Oh,
a high need person and you need 6 8 hours a day, assisted living is not the best option for you. So that's something that is a misconception. And when families go into these places, they sometimes get pretty upset, right? Because they're like, why is my parent not getting the care that they need? And so that's where we come in and supplement that care. So if they need, anything over an hour a day, we're essentially coming in there and taking over for that.
that is amazing. Oh, okay, that makes sense now. I think
Mhm.
some people would probably need more help and more attention, and or whatever it is that they need, and that poor person is running around helping a whole bunch of people.
Mhm.
So obviously, the time is divided and limited in what they get.
Yeah, it's not a lot of personalized care, unfortunately. It's more Uber
Unfortunately.
style.
So, what are some of the things that you guys do for your customers out there at home or say at the facilities there?
Yeah, so basically we call them the activities of daily living. That's kind of the buzzword in the industry, and it's helping out with, bathing, dressing, toileting, mobility, basically anything on the non-medical side. We can do medication reminders, transportation, light housekeeping. Pretty much the sky's the limit as far as, as long as it's non-medical, it's within our realm essentially. And so yeah, we'll come out and basically assist individuals with that.
Beautiful. And then, so does it? How does it work in terms of the dynamics? Like, do your people stay with the patient, or do they just go in and out every day? How does that work?
Yeah, so there's different levels of care. Excuse me, sick here in the Northeast. There's different levels of care. So we have anywhere from 4 hours per day to 24-hour care, right? So it's really dependent on the need of the client. We have a lot of higher level, advanced dementia clients that we're working with. And that's kind of what we're specializing in, because we have some really good people here that are really experienced in that area. But it's very customized to the need of the client. Everybody has a different need. When they come out, when they're discharged from a hospital or a skilled nursing facility, then every one of them, their recovery is gonna look different, right? Are they on hospice? Did they break a hip and they're just looking to recover from rehab? So every single one looks different, and that's why we've kind of structured our services the way we have, is to be able to kind of limit the volume that we're doing and just pay a lot more attention to each individual client.
Fantastic, fantastic. Um, so you said you also work with other home care companies to help them with the strategies, growth, marketing, and the rest of it. How did you get into that?
Yeah, that was kind of by chance, to be honest with you. I just really like talking business. I love doing this kind of stuff. And I started a TikTok channel, actually, just running my agency. And I just do daily videos and some of the stuff I was doing, and started to gain a lot of traction. And before I knew it, there was a few thousand people on there. And I was giving out some free advice and helping people. And then it kind of became a little time consuming for me to be able to help out and share some secrets and things like that. So what I did was, as I was transitioning out of the day to day for my agency, I started to kind of ramp up Masters of Home Care. And that's when I started, producing a lot more content. I'm trying to put out educational content out on YouTube, on across the different social channels. We have a newsletter. And then I've built a school community around that as well. So we have courses, mentorship programs, and you can basically owners can come in at any stage, and we can kind of help them along the journey.
Love it. So let's work on a case study. Give us an example of a client that you work with. How did you find them, and what was their challenge that you helped them with?
Yeah, so I would say on the consulting side, so we've had quite a few people come through, but we had an agency owner in Florida, and they came in. We got them come in through like just our organic content funnel. So they came in, I believe, through like a YouTube video, signed up for our newsletter, ultimately got interested in our program, and came in that way. And the number one thing that they were struggling with, and this is like, I would say 90% of the people that come through my program, is lead consistency. Anyone can have a good month, but it's like keeping it consistent over the year is extremely challenging, especially in our industry, because as the weather changes and things like that, seniors seem to, they're much more susceptible to those changes. So you see a lot when we get a cold snap. We have a lot of hospice clients, and it's terrible, but that's kind of the way the seniors work, is they kind of follow the weather patterns. So what we help them with is we teach them the lead workflow. So the main thing is, a lot of people are doing the right things in the wrong order. So they're doing the right things. They're going out and marketing to these referral sources, but they're not doing it the right way. And they're missing like the most important attention grabbing parts of that, right? They're just doing the quick stop buys. Nobody's remembering their name. So that's kind of traditionally how a lot of home care agencies operate. So we're teaching them, the lead workflow, what order to do it in, and how to actually capture attention instead of just being, lost in the mix, right? Because there's a ton of competition out there. So we got to learn how to stand out, and we have to do that by, strategic marketing. So lead workflow, doing presentations, selling by story, some of the more advanced techniques.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, what are the typical mistakes that you see these people make in terms of the right things in a wrong order? What are like the top two, three things that you do see them doing that you're like, dude, you got to do that first, you know?
Yeah, definitely. So it's, you hear this everywhere in business, right? It's an attention economy, right? The person who captures the most attention is going to win in the end. And that's exactly the same. That holds true even if you're a local home care agency, like most of my clients are. And so what we're doing is teaching them how to capture that attention. And I have a 4-step process where essentially, it involves an introduction, right? You're either cold calling or you're stopping by and doing an introduction. And then I have, you can book a tour or you can go out for a coffee, a face-to-face one-on-one coffee. And the third and the most powerful is getting in to do a visual presentation. No home care agency owners do this. They go in with like old flyers and stuff like that. They don't do anything visual as far as, a PowerPoint presentation, slides on a TV or anything like that. So it's an easy way to stand out. And also people receive visual much better than just verbiage, sorry. And so what we do is we combine them. I mean, we're talking through the PowerPoint presentation. It's extremely powerful. And at the end of that presentation, we do the ask, right? Is we're actually asking, is there anyone that can benefit from our services that you can think of right now? So we're kind of putting them on the spot a little bit in a very respectful way. And then the fourth part of that is essentially the follow-ups, right? Is you're just doing the stop bys, you're dropping off coffee or donuts or whatever. And most owners, I would say 90% that come through my program are only doing steps 1 and 4.
Yep.
And unfortunately, those steps, they don't capture attention, right? They're more supporting elements of, the presentation or the, booking a one-to-one meeting. And so there's a lot of owners that, yeah, I mean, they're doing some of the right stuff. We just got to get the order down and add a few steps in there.
Fantastic. I know from being in marketing forever that number one issue in sales, for what I've seen, is follow-ups. People don't do follow-ups properly. Like, they get a whole bunch of leads. They work hard, gather leads through advertising, networking, word of mouth. They get referrals and they don't follow up. I'm like, how do you manage to do that?
It is. Yeah, it's a little sloppy. It's learning, right? You got to like train yourself to do that. So that's where we're trying to help people kind of shortcut that.
Oh yeah. Sometimes I like back of my head, I'm like, you're starving, you need customers, and someone gives you a referral and you don't follow up on that.
Yeah.
Please help me understand.
It is. And a lot of people too, they have a very unrealistic expectation of what it takes as well. I just did a whole training on mindset because I had so many people in my group that they joined the group and 2 weeks later, they're like, Justin, this isn't working. We don't have any clients coming in. And, they worked, 2 hours the previous week, 4 hours this week. I'm like, no, come back to me after 3 months of working 40 hours a week. And then we'll talk, so I'm trying to help them kind of look at that mindset. It's not a 2 week plan, plan this for 6 months and then tell me if you have results or not.
For sure. Yeah, that's a big thing that I've also seen. People are like, try something for an hour and they think about it for another hour and they're like, I've been trying this for 6 months. Like, no, you haven't.
Yeah, you definitely haven't. You only joined the course 2 weeks ago.
That's right. Like, I've tried everything. No, you haven't. Yeah, I think most people, to your point, don't try and stick to a plan and a strategy consistently for enough time to see results. They quit way too early.
Yeah, and that's exactly what my training was about. It was volume and consistency. It's like, here's the volume you need to hit and here's the time frame you need to hit it for. And you shouldn't be thinking of anything else until you're done that.
Volume, consistency, and time frame.
Yeah.
Love it. That's a great formula. Um Justin, what makes your company, let's stick to the consulting side. What makes your company and what you do different compared to the rest of the consultants out there?
Yeah, I have a major focus on value and profit over volume. I always have. We are a highly profitable agency, but if you looked at our client base, you might think, oh, they're not that big, right? But we're doing, twice the revenue as a normal agency with the same amount of hours and less office staff, right? So that's kind of our strategy all along, is that value and profit. There's so many people that get into this industry and they're in it for the right reason, right? They want to help, right? They're in it because they saw grandma decline and they want to get in and help out somehow. They were involved in the care, but they don't know anything about, making money, right? So they get into it and it becomes a huge burden on them and their family. They're a lot of the times they're losing money. They might be, paying themselves 30 grand a year to run this company, and they never get up to that next level. Right. And so what I'm teaching them is profitability is number one in your business. It doesn't matter, how compassionate you are. And if you got into it for the right reasons, I would assume 99% of people that are going to start a home care company do it for the right reasons, whether they have business experience or not. But what I always tell them is if you have a highly profitable agency, you can serve way more seniors, right? It is unlimited how many seniors you can serve. And if you are struggling, you have quality issues, you have no profit to invest back in the business, then you're not running a healthy business, and you're not going to provide good care. And also, you're going to be limited on how many people you can provide that care to. So value and profit, I think some people have been scared to talk about in this industry for a long time, just because it is such a heartfelt industry. But I'm here kind of rattling, ruffling some feathers a little bit, and just saying, yeah, guys, like, yes, we are here for the right reasons, but we also got to make money. That's a requirement.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Years ago, are you familiar with Dan Kennedy,
I am.
marketer
Yeah, I
guy?
read a lot of his stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, years ago I learned from him saying something along the lines of a business owner's number one the sworn duty is to create profits.
Hmm.
And it's amazing for what I've seen how a lot of business owners, if not most of them, don't even think about profits. They're
Hmm.
just thinking about, staying busy, finding good customers. And what's your
Yeah.
experience with that?
Yeah, so that's exactly right. I mean, they don't focus on it, and I was guilty of that too. I didn't always start off running a super healthy agency. I was taking on Medicaid, VA, all these clients that I had super low margins on, and there's all this complexity behind it. And at the end of the day, when you look at the numbers, I mean, you're just not making any money, right? So I know of agencies that are running Medicaid and things like that, where they'll look at a 30 to 35% gross margin. That's not profit margin, that's gross margin. And where we're at, 50 has always been the goal for private pay, 50% gross margin. And we did that, the last couple of years, and it's healthy and it's good. We're actually targeting, and we're already hitting with our new clients, a 60% margin. So we're kind of breaking the barrier on what's possible in this industry when you provide the care that they want, right? They don't want mediocre care for a cheap price. There's a large demographic of people out there that will pay to get good care, and that's our avatar that we're going after, and we're teaching other agency owners to go after.
Absolutely. Like quite literally before this show, me and my partner on one of the businesses we're working on, we were just crunching numbers on profits. We got a kind of a 35 location customer with 35 locations coming in, and we're pricing things out, and we were discussing different profit levels. And then my partner says, how about we go with 20%? I said, I don't know. Let's put the numbers in and see if it's going to make sense for us or not. Because let's say we got a tool in the AI world that fixes. Funny enough, it fixes the follow up problem.
Mm.
It makes follow up calls for our clients. So he's like, what? Let's go with 10% so we can get this customer. I'm like, that's not a good
Yeah.
idea. What if there is a price fluctuation
Hmm.
in the market, and now all of a sudden within like overnight I'm losing money? So
Yeah.
we spend a good couple of hours on Excel sheet crunching numbers, looking at different scenarios and figuring out what we need to do and what price point we want to go in with this customer so that it works for them and for us.
Right. Absolutely. And that's a really smart thing to do. And I mean, that's kind of like the supply and demand curve, right? Is like where that's gonna kind of intersect, and what the price point is gonna be. And just to, in my agency, what we're doing is, like I said, we're kind of pushing the barriers on that. At the start of this year, we were already the highest price agency. At the start of this year, we increased our lowest average rate by $5 an hour, which is quite a lot, right? I mean, we're looking at a high percentage increase on that. And my team said, Justin, there's no way that we can push it this far. We've already kind of pushed the limits on this. And in January, we had our most revenue and our highest profit month that we've ever had in the agency in over 7 years. And that's because we were pushing the limits. And in that time frame, We've signed on roughly, I would say 17, 18 clients, something like that in January. We lost one because of pricing. And we don't think that they, even if we were down lower, we don't even think that they would have signed anyway. So we've basically lost nothing. So we have our sales and marketing dialed in, we have our service dialed in, and we are pushing the boundaries. And so far, we haven't even found the upper limit. Even though we're charging way, way more than our competitors, we haven't
Mhm.
even found out what the market will actually take, because
Yeah,
everybody, we're signing every client. So that means we have room to increase even more if we want to.
100%, 100%. Did you guys lose a headache customer because of that price increase?
Yeah, so we no, we didn't lose any current clients. Anytime we've done a price increase, we've never lost a current client. It actually works as a really good tool, because in our industry, and not even just in our industry, in every industry, there is clients you don't want, right? There is
Exactly.
always problematic clients. So
Yeah.
we actually, one thing that we do differently, we charge a hefty startup fee. It's a few $1,000s. No other agency does that. We also charge way higher than other agencies. And what that does is it's a little bit of a pre-qualifier for
Yeah.
those problem clients. And we've made the mistake. I didn't. I let my team kind of do it on their own, but they came to me a couple times and they said, "Just, I think we should, adjust the rate a little bit for this client and cater to them." And I said, I don't see this going very well. And we did it, and we signed them, and they turned out to be an absolute nightmare. And we have one of those clients is actually, refusing to pay their bill. And, they declined one of the payments. And I said, do you guys see like why we have this in place? It's not just to make extra money. This is actually a pre-qualifier for the clients that we want.
Um, I love that strategy. It's just people self-selecting themselves out if they're cheap or if they're not the right people, and you're working with the right type of customers, and you're not worried about collecting payments and the rest of it.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think people don't really look at what a time suck some of those clients are, right? And
My
it's,
God,
we want to help people. We don't want to be spending time with somebody who's completely unreasonable, refusing to pay their bill, has unrealistic expectations. You just don't want to waste your time. Those are energy vampires. And if you own a business, they're profit vampires, right? They're going to suck everything out of you.
100%. Um, I think, and I've seen that to be a great strategy to get rid of headache clients by increasing the price, and they would just automatically leave.
Absolutely. It weeds them out before, like, I mean, we don't even sign them on, right? If we're on the phone with them and we tell them, what our rate range is and everything, I mean, they're gone. They don't even think twice about it, and they can move on to the next
100%.
agency.
100%. And if they paid extra, that's the dealing with you fee that
Yeah,
they paid
exactly.
extra.
That's right. That's right. And we do have contingencies for that too. I mean, we have care coordination fees, and we don't charge that. It's more of a tool to be like, hey, if you keep wasting our time, it's it at $80 per hour, So we have little tools in place because we've done this for a very long time. So
Love it. So, we we promised on how to attract premium clients and stop competing on price.
Mhm.
How do you go about that? I know we touched on it already a little bit, but how do we go about attracting premium clients and just eliminating competition and, not compete on price?
Yeah, so that's kind of a strategy that I've been obsessed with over the last couple years. I've really dove into that. There's tons of books and stuff that I have found super valuable. So really digging into the psychology of that. But I basically have a 3-step system. It's not too, crazy advanced or anything like that. Most of it is confidence, right? When you tell a salesperson, hey, go sell a service for this price, they're going to be like, no, you're out of your mind, right? So building up their confidence is one thing, but our first step to that is our avatar, right? Historically in home care, you're marketing to absolutely everybody, right? You're going after every community, every skilled nursing facility, every assisted living community. We're stopping that. So we've identified, who works with more affluent clients. We're going after the children of the seniors. Typically, it is a female between 44 and 64 years old, and so we know our exact avatar that we're going after. And also, when you're dealing with a certain affluent clientele like that, there's certain things that they like, right? They like personalization, they like customization, they like exclusivity, right? So we work parts of that into our strategy, but also it's very high trust, right? If they're spending a lot of money, they want to trust the company that's coming in there. So you have to establish your authority in certain ways, right? And there's also different marketing methods that basically increase trust faster than other methods, like even direct mail. You spoke about Dan Kennedy earlier. Direct mail, that's kind of a lost art, and it's actually for our demographic and for building trust, it's a really, really powerful method. But people don't
Oh,
want that, right? They want Google ads, they want Facebook ads, they want, basically things that are super costly that aren't really working, and they don't really work in a high trust environment, right? So avatar is number one, and really dialing that in. Number two is your offer. This one's super important. Everybody just offers hourly care. Some people do a little bump, for an evening shift or an overnight shift. We offer 3 separate packages, and we have a huge price anchor on the end, right? And the price anchor is just a much higher priced package. And the reason for that is not to sell it. I mean, we'll fulfill on it if we sell it, but the reason for that is to sell the other 2 packages, right? So that's how you basically, when you're pricing out different packages, you can be strategic, you can use a price anchor, and then that's going to be how you move them to one package or the other. So you can choose which one you want to move them to, but just kind of basically building that offer is super, super important, because it'll help you sell like crazy. I mean, when we first increased our rates, we added a price anchor for about $20 more per hour, and we sold those like crazy. Like nobody even questioned the rate, because they're like, well, I'm not paying $60 an hour, I'll pay $40 an hour, right? That's the much cheaper rate,
right.
so let's do that one, right? So that's how the price anchor works. I'm sure a lot of people listening know that already, but really powerful strategy, that packaging, price anchoring. And then we get into number 3, which is messaging. Messaging is the probably just as important as the other 2, is like, how are you delivering it, right? You're offering the value, you have a lot higher price services, so you need to be able to speak to that, right? You can't go in with the same pitch that every other agency is, right? So we teach people how to improve that messaging. And one thing that I think is really important for a lot of your listeners out here would be that even if you aren't offering a crazy differentiator, or your business isn't totally different than the next, you can differentiate just by improved messaging, right? So we have a lot of companies that they'll go in and sign on a client, and they'll say, oh yeah, we'll assign you a care manager, and that's basically where it ends, right? And with our messaging, we're saying, yeah, we're going to assign you this a care manager. They're going to be the same person that's there for the start of care. They're going to follow up with you after the first week. If you have any problems, you can contact them directly. You're going to have their cell phone number. And it's the same thing, the competitor agency is doing, but we're phrasing it in a much different way. We're actually telling them exactly what they're getting, and we're not spending any more money or anything like that doing it. It's just that the messaging is improved, and they're going to look at us as the higher quality agency, because we're explaining that to them. And sorry,
Love
that
it.
was long-winded, but those are kind of the 3 steps that we use, and we take everybody through.
No, I'm with you 100%. I mean, you're speaking my language, I think we could probably geek out on that for a good couple of hours.
Absolutely.
So 3 things you mentioned. Number 1, your avatar. Absolutely important to know who you serve, and I think that's going to help you identify who you don't serve. So you're not out there trying to appeal to everybody. I think what I've seen out there is people, they say we serve everybody and we do everything for them. It's like who is everybody? How do I find everybody? Right.
Mhm.
Um, so your second step was the offer. Beautiful. I love the price anchoring thing that you mentioned. Putting a bigger package at the end or in the beginning, so it helps you, sell the package that you want to sell a lot easier without too much, objections, and it just feels and looks like the right deal to do. There was a good study about they call it the popcorn effect. It's on YouTube, about how they were selling popcorn at the theaters, and they had like they were selling, say, popcorn for like $7 a package, And then people came in, they're like, "Oh my goodness, that is a crazy price. I'm not paying that," right? And then what they did the exact same thing that you said. They added like a $15 package. Now everybody buys the $7 package, no problem. They don't even, and they're like, when they ask them after, they're like, "That sounds like a really good economical decision. I feel like, I saved a lot of money." But before the bigger package, they're like, "That's a lot of money. I'm not paying that." So amazing strategy for pricing, and then messaging how you deliver, and love it. Great system.
Yeah, it works really well for us, and we've spent years, trying to dial it in. And yeah, I mean, we convert the vast majority of people that come through the agency, so that's good.
Beautiful. Justin, what are some of the milestones that you guys have achieved along the way since you started?
So since the startup, I would say in our first 14 months, we were able to do 1 million in revenue, which was great. We actually grew through COVID, which was fantastic. The next year was tough. That was the only year that we've actually dropped in revenue, and that was when, I'm still a little burnt by it, but the government essentially was paying our staff more money to stay at home on unemployment insurance than they were, to actually come into work. So getting staff was absolutely impossible. And we saw a lot of seniors that went without care because of that. And it was a really challenging time. So we ended up having to lay off a couple people. So that was our only bad year that we've had. And then after that, the next year, we grew, and we ended up on the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing companies, and the Inc. regional list in the same year. And we're in the Inc. 5000 again this year. We haven't got the approval or anything yet, so that's not an announcement. That's just we put in the application, and our numbers are much higher than we were when we made it, so we have a good chance at it anyway. And then we planted out a second location actually just last year. And so that's going to be super, super helpful just in kind of growing our overall EBITDA. And then, yeah, I mean, right now we're just kind of looking at growth through acquisition, because we have really, really good systems in place right now. And we have a really good team members. And that's given me all the confidence to move forward. And, once we get this second location rolling, up to a couple million in revenue, then we're likely going to be looking at a growth model through acquisition to increase our multiples down the road.
Beautiful. Love it. Amazing achievements. Inc. 5000, and the rest of the stuff that
Yep,
you guys
thank
have
you.
done. Really, really
Thank you. Thank you.
impressive.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride.
What were Oh yeah, it always is. Well, we'll talk
Yeah.
about it. What Speaking of which, what have been some of the challenges you've been facing while reaching those milestones?
I would say one would have been government, so Medicaid, unemployment after COVID. So dealing with some of the government insurance. We like I said, when we first got into it, we wanted to help everybody, right? We quickly realized that if you want to run a business, that you can't do it. You can't partner with the government, unfortunately, in our world. And so that was a challenge. We lost about 30,000 in revenue our first year just due to unpaid claims. So I just cut out Medicaid altogether. But that was a big mistake, is not realizing that off the start, even though I had an inclination. I knew the government was difficult to work with. And then I would say another one would have just been, this is probably the next biggest one, would have been cash flow, which every business owner struggles with. Mine was even more problematic because I did immigrate down from Canada, and I actually had no access to any funding on either side of the border. So I had to, it kind of like gives bootstrapping a whole new meaning, is like, I couldn't take on any debt. I actually had to run solely off of profit. And so what that forced me to do was get a lot more healthy with my financials, right? And I couldn't work with Medicaid, right? Because I didn't know when I was getting paid. So what I did was I just tightened up the payment terms, and I also developed a system, the startup fee system, where I could take some cash up front as well. So we kind of reined that in, and it worked out to my advantage because, excuse me, because we just basically were able to operate in a much healthier way. And so up past 5 million, I bootstrapped with absolutely no, like I didn't have a line of credit. I had absolutely nothing. I was just rolling it off of the profits of the business, which is really hard to do. If anybody's up in that range, but now we have a small line of credit. We still run mostly off of profitability, but yeah, it was a big challenge at the time that actually worked out in my favor. So
Love it. That is amazing. That
it
is
was a little
amazing.
stressful at the time though, but I'm glad it worked out that way.
Yeah, it's a good. I think eventually it was a good
Mhm.
challenge to have. Like it didn't make it dependent on a whole bunch of loans and
Yeah,
government and this and
exactly,
that.
exactly. It taught me very early on how to run efficiently and, financially frugal.
Beautiful. Sometimes people think when you get past those and join the ranks of Inc. 5000, and regional and this and that, that problems disappear. You know, are there any challenges or problems that holding your company back right now?
Always. Yeah. If anyone tells you they don't have any issues in their company, they're probably lying to you. But you get to points where you're running smoother than others, and I think right now we're running really smoothly. But don't let that fool you, because I mean, the end of last year we had people problems. We had to remove somebody at a high level position. We had our phone system was completely letting us down. We had to completely transition that over. We grew to the point where our systems couldn't absorb the growth anymore. So we had to basically stop and rebuild all of our systems. So, I mean, even though we're running smoothly now, we weren't only a few short months ago. And we're going to get to that point again. We're running smoothly now, but we're going to run into if you're going to grow a company, you're constantly going to be running into constraints. You just have to prioritize handling those and keeping on moving forward. So, yeah, I mean, once we double the size of this agency, we're still going to be running into problems. They're just going to be different ones.
Different problems. Um, if you had a magic wand for your business, what would you do with it right now?
Oh, a magic wand. That's a good question. I would say I would probably add some fairness. Historically, caregivers haven't got paid enough. So it's kind of developed this whole mindset and just demographic of people that, they half ass it, right? Because they get paid to half ass it. And you know, if you get more reasonable rates, I mean, you don't want somebody for $12 an hour in your home caring for you, right? But clients don't want to pay any more than that, and caregivers want to get paid more than that. So it's just a broken system. So I think we're definitely getting there and improving that system, because we're paying our caregivers. We're in the 20 some dollar range now paying our caregivers. So they're getting paid very well. The ones that are with us long term, they're very, very happy. They can actually work and invest and save some money. So we're kind of changing that model. But yeah, I would just say like fairness across the board, right? You don't want to bankrupt a senior or anything like that, but you also want to make sure that your caregivers, I mean, they're working extremely hard. You want fair pay for them, right? So to find that balance point
That's right.
historically has been really challenging. So I would say to improve that so it works for both sides of the model.
100%. I mean, you want to pay them enough to make sure they work with their heart and soul, and you know, uh, they don't. I mean, if they don't. What am I trying to say? We don't want to make pay them so low that they feel unappreciated, unpaid, underpaid, and I'm just gonna put this out there. We don't want to force them to
Mhm.
start
Yeah,
stealing. You know,
exactly.
you know.
Yeah, and I mean, we should. I don't
Um,
know why people expected more out of them when you're only paying them $12 an hour. Like, I mean, I know if I was
right.
younger and I just had a job and it was paying me 12 bucks an hour, probably wouldn't take it all that seriously. So we have to fix that problem.
Absolutely. 100%. We're like, hey, I'm only gonna work as much as
Mhm.
12 bucks an
Yeah,
hour. If you
exactly.
want
Yeah. This is
more
a
than that,
$30 an hour job, but I'll work 12 bucks an hour.
there isn't there is an additional
Yeah,
fee
exactly.
for that. Good. Do you read
I read a
at all,
lot. Yeah,
Justin?
audiobooks and reading. Yeah.
Give me two of your favorite books of all time.
I would say a lot of the information actually that has helped me kind of strategically run my business would be like Influence by Robert Cialdini. I talk a lot about the psychology of selling. That was a really powerful book for that. I would say like How to Win Friends and Influence People is kind of like an introductory book for, sales and things like that. It's an awesome book. I'd say Influence is like the next level up from that. And it gives you kind of those advanced psychological methods. So I love Influence. It's a bit of a heavy read, but it's amazing. Any sales rep should read that. And then I would say both of Hormozy's books. I actually work out with their team out in Vegas once in a while, but $100 million offers and leads. That's helped me structure my packages. As you probably know, if you've read those books, a lot of that information comes from there too.
Amazing books. Yeah, I've read both of those, and Influence is amazing. I have that to read again, and then he has Prefluence,
Oh,
or
Persuasion.
the one that
Yeah,
Persuasion. Yes,
yeah.
Prefluence. Persuasion.
I've read a summary of
That's
that, but I
another
haven't
great
read the
book.
whole book. But it looks really good too.
Yeah, it's a heavy. It's
It
a
is.
heavy book. Influence is easier to read, but Persuasion is kind of
Yeah.
heavier. It's got a lot of
Yeah.
research in there. And then Hormoz's offer
Mm.
book, $100 million
Yeah.
offer, is
It's spot
amazing.
on. Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
it is. It is beautiful. It actually helped me revise and improve my
Awesome.
offers as well.
Awesome.
Um, Love it. Great. So, gang, if you haven't read those books, go ahead and grab it and buy it or get it from the library today.
Yeah.
I would buy it. Anyway, so what's one advice that made a big impact on your life or business?
I would say I don't know if it was more advice or just leading by example, but the fella I mentioned up in Canada that I had partnered with on the inspection company, he was a little bit older than me, really really good entrepreneur. And he showed me, I mean, it's easy for us to dwell on problems, especially when you're younger, you don't know how to overcome them. That's what stops a lot of business owners, right? And he just taught me to be like unwavering. Like he would just move forward, not get hung up on problems. I mean, 99% of the time he was working on solutions and moving forward. And, if somebody came into his office, I was in there all the time. Somebody would come in with this, they thought the sky was falling. It's a problem. He said, yeah, so fix this and get out there and do it. Right. And so he was kind of like a freight train. Like he was unwavering. He just did not let problems affect him. And I think that was really powerful for me, especially like earlier on in the agency, just to keep moving forward. Right. Because I mean, there's no owner. Like, I mean, you see all these big companies out there now and you think it's easy, right? I mean, they went through their trials and tribulations. Everybody does, right? So like understanding that problems are a part of the game, it's how you respond to them. That's kind of the number one most important thing. So I'd say that was one of the main things that I was taught. And I think it's helped me the most.
Beautiful. Not letting problems affect you is a
Mhm.
big deal. I mean, if you run a
Yeah.
business, that's something I think you got to practice and a skill to develop to
It
use
is
every day,
100%,
if
100%.
not multiple
Yeah, it'll
times a
serve you
day.
well in personal life too.
100%. Justin, is there a question that I should have asked and I didn't? And if I did, it would have added value to people that are watching or listening?
I don't think so. I think we covered a lot of ground, Mustafa. I mean, it was great. You had some great
Yes, we did.
questions delivered, so I appreciate that.
Fantastic. So, how can people that are watching or listening reach out to
So
you?
you can go to my website at mastersofhomecare.com. That's just my main site. You can sign up for my free community and stuff in there as well. It's for home care agency owners. There's free resources and stuff on there. And then also I do a weekly newsletter. I'm actually revamping that as well to make it a little more valuable. But it's just the homecaremba.com, as in a master's business. Yeah,
HomeCareMBA.com.
homecaremba.com. Sign up for the newsletter there, and any of my social channels as well. I mean, they're all just Masters of Home Care, predominantly LinkedIn and YouTube, but you can connect with me on really any of those as well.
Beauty. Are you on
I'm on
TikTok too?
TikTok. Yeah, I haven't been on as much since the whole they canceled it and brought it back and everything. So it's not one of my main platforms, but I am on there. Yeah.
Beauty. Justin, this has been a great conversation. You shared a ton of value. Gangi, if you're watching or listening and you're in the home care business, do reach out. Or if you know someone that is running a home care business, um, introduce them to Justin, send them their website. The sites are mastersofhomecare.com and homecaremba.com. Join the newsletter, reach out, and I mean, you watched and listened to Justin for almost an hour. You could tell if he knows what he's talking about or not. It seems like he does. So do reach out. Otherwise, he wouldn't be here, I guess. Do reach out and ask for help. Last week or the week before, I read or listened to someone talking about saying something along the lines of consultation is one of God's greatest gifts out there.
Yeah, that's deep. Yeah.
Right? You can easily get consultation and fix a problem that you've been dealing with for however long in a matter of minutes in a lot of
That's
cases. So
yeah,
get
100%. And
consultation.
that's a main thing too, is like hire somebody like me. It doesn't have to be me. Hire somebody that's been there before you. No matter what business you're in, they will save you tons of money. I know it seems like you're spending a lot of money, but they're going to save you a ton of money by not having to make all those mistakes on your own. I wish I had a consultant when I first started.
100%. 100%. Couldn't agree more. Thank you very much, Justin. This was great. Thank you for watching and listening. You've been listening and watching another episode of the Executive Hub Show. Your host, Mustafa Hosseini, here with my guest, Justin Currie. Hope you have a great day, and we'll see you on our next
Thanks,
episode.
everyone. Appreciate it.